What would you do if people keep calling you names? And what would you do if you see someone bullying others in public? Would you back away or would you stand up to them? Now sit tight and watch this week's chapter to find out what Marc is going to do in response to Nathan's annoyance. Chapter 9, The Last Resort. I was a worry kid today. I kept my cool and controlled my emotions. But I'm not sure it is going to help because there is still a major problem. That problem, it's Nathan. It started when I got to camp today. Of course, Nathan was there. And of course, Nathan was being his normal self, mean. I don't know what his problem is. We were all hanging around and getting ready to play kickball. I was talking to Jessica. She's one of those people who is really good at every sport there is. Soccer, baseball, kickball, basketball, anything and everything. I was asking her what her favorite sport was since she is so good at all of them. Probably basketball, she told me. I like it because it is fast and you get to score a lot. What is your favorite sport? That's cool, I told her. I like basketball too. Is it your favorite? She asked. At this point, I realized that Nathan was there and that he was listening to Jessica and I talk. I just knew he was going to say something, but I just ignored him and started to answer her question. My favorite, just as I started talking, Nathan cut me off. Yeah, what's your favorite sport, plate face? He said in a weird, high-pitched voice, mocking Jessica. I stood there for a second. I tried to ignore him and started again. My favorite sport, hello, my name is plate face. What's your favorite sport? Nathan interrupted. This time in another strange voice that was supposed to be me. That was it. I started to get mad, really mad. The feeling flooded over me like a tidal wave. I felt my face getting hotter and knew it was starting to turn red. Then my fists started to get tighter. All these things were exactly what Uncle Jake had called red flares. I was losing control of my emotions. I was about to lose my temper. I knew this was not good, so I did what Uncle Jake told me to do. I stepped outside the situation in my head and took a deep breath. I told myself to calm down because warrior kids don't lose control of their emotions. This was how I got in trouble at school, and I wasn't going to let that happen again. I felt better already. Now I needed a way to get out of the situation, to get away from Nathan. So instead of responding to Nathan, I looked at Jessica and said, "Do you want to go to the water fountain before the game?" "Okay," she said, looking very relieved that we would be able to get away from Nathan. We walked away toward the water fountain. As we walked, I could hear Nathan continuing to talk loudly about something, but I just ignored him. Jessica and I went and got a drink. "That kid Nathan, it's mean," Jessica told me after she got a drink. "Yeah, he is," I answered. "But I think the best thing to do is just ignore him." "That's true, but it can be kind of hard to ignore him since he is so loud," she said, raising her voice loudly at the end of her sentence and making a funny face. We laughed and then walked back over toward the group by the kickball field. As we got closer, the first thing I heard was Nathan. He was talking to this other kid, Bobby. "How do you even fit a brain inside your tiny skull? Your head is so little. Mosquito head. That's what you are. Mosquito head." Bobby didn't look happy at all. He was a shy kid, and now Nathan was making him the center of attention, and not for a good reason. "Please don't suck up my blood, mosquito head," Bobby mumbled. "I'm not going to do that. I'm not a mosquito." "Look, Mosquito Head can actually talk. Not very loudly because of his tiny little mouth on his tiny little head, but he can talk. I could see the look on Bobby's face. He didn't know what to do or say. He looked like he was about to cry. It made me mad. Even madder than when Nathan was making fun of me. I started to feel my anger come up again, and once again, I got control of my emotions. I took another deep breath to calm down. But I wasn't the only one who thought Bobby was about to cry. Oh, look! Mosquito Head is about to cry some mosquito tears, Nathan shouted. Even though I had my emotions under control, I still remembered my warrior kid code. It said that a warrior kid stands up to bullies and helps out other people whenever possible. Well, Bobby needed my help. I needed to shut Nathan up right now. It was time for my jiu-jitsu to get used. I pushed through the crowd and walked right. That's enough, Nathan. Be quiet. No one wants to hear you, I told him in a calm but serious voice. Who asked you? Nathan shouted back. And what are you going to do about it? Well, I said, if you keep talking, you will find out. Nathan started to say something back when he got cut off. All right, kids, let's line up to pick teams. It was one of the camp counselors who had just come out to the field. He had no idea what had just happened or what was about to happen when he walked up. We all lined up, and a couple of kids got picked to be team captains and picked the rest of the teams. But I wasn't paying attention to that. I was thinking about fighting Nathan. As a warrior kid, I'm supposed to help other people. Kids like Bobby needed my help. I needed to stand up for them. When I got home at the end of the day, I told Uncle Jake the whole story. I explained how I detached and controlled my emotions and walked away from Nathan. Then I told him about what Nathan had said to Bobby and that he actually did this to all kinds of kids. I explained to him that Nathan is just a mean person and won't ever change. Finally, I said, I'm going to fight Nathan. Uncle Jake sat there for a little while, quietly. Then he said, Are you sure about that? Yes, I told him. I'm sure. He has a horrible attitude. No matter what anyone says to him, he never stops. I need to stop him. Uncle Jake was quiet again and finally said, Okay, Mark, if that is what needs to happen, then that is what needs to happen. But fighting should always be a last resort. You should not fight until you absolutely have to, unless there is no other options at all. And even then, before you fight, you have to make sure you're doing the right thing, and you have to find out more about the person you are going to fight. In the SEAL teams, we call it gathering intelligence. Gathering intelligence? What's that? I asked. Finding out about the person you're going to fight. What are they capable of? What sort of weapons do they have? What is driving them? Do they have any people who might come to help them? People you would have to watch out for? And figure out why they're acting the way they're acting. There's always a chance that if we know why someone is acting a certain way, maybe we can attack that reason instead of attacking them. Okay, but what intelligence should I gather about Nathan? I already know what I need to know. He is a loud mouth and a bully. There is a lot more you need to know. You need to try and find out what makes him like this. Find out everything you can. What kind of shoes he has. What kind of backpack he carries. What he brings to camp for snacks. Who he hangs around with. Everything. That way, you know exactly who you are dealing with if it gets to a point. That way, you know exactly who you are dealing with if it gets to the point that you have to fight. So is it kind of like spying on him? No, just observing him, watching, listening, learning about him. Take notes so you can explain everything to me. Does that make sense? Yes, Uncle Jake, I got it. Okay, great. Now make it happen. And that was it. When I thought about it more, I realized that Uncle Jake had just given me my first mission. Gather intelligence. It even sounded cool. And I also realized that Uncle Jake had just given me permission to fight Nathan when my mission was completed. Finally, I will be able to use my jujitsu for real and become a true warrior kid. Okay, time to check your understanding. Who was Mark talking to at the beginning of this chapter? That's right, Jessica. Number 2, according to Mark, what's so special about Jessica? Jessica is one of those people who is really good at every sport there is. Number 3, do you remember what was Jessica's favorite sport? That's right, Jessica's favorite sport is basketball because it's fast and one gets to score a lot. Number 4, what did Nathan do when Mark and Jessica were having a conversation? That's right, Nathan was trying to disturb and interrupt their conversation by calling Mark a plate face and imitating their voice to annoy them further. Number 5, what insect part did Nathan compare Bobby's head to? Mosquito head. Number 6, what was the last resort referring to in this chapter? That's right, the last resort refers to fighting. All right, last question. What was Uncle Jake asked Mark to do before he has to fight Nathan? That's right, Uncle Jake asked Mark to gather intelligence about Nathan by observing him. Sometimes when we're upset about something or is annoyed with someone, it's best to keep your cool and analyze the situation before engaging yourself in doing something that you might regret later. In this chapter, Uncle Jake asked Mark to gather intelligence. It's a way to analyze the situation as well as give Mark the time to cool down so that he can think carefully. I hope you enjoyed this chapter as much as I do. And moving on, Mark is going to face his own nightmare. What is going to happen to him and how would Uncle Jake help? Stay tuned and I'll see you next week for chapter 10. Bye for now.